Hi everybody, happy Tuesday. So good news, you have survived the first unit. The narrative unit is over. Like I said, I encourage you to revise after I provide you with feedback, but for now we're going to switch gears and focus on the rhetorical analysis unit. I hope you all had a great weekend. Let's just jump into it. So obviously Monday we had off, so Tuesday we have a little bit of a short week. Today we're going to do a lot of stuff in these two videos. First, we're going to introduce the rhetorical analysis paper. We're going to talk about the rubric and get a little bit into what I'm asking in this paper. So by today, Tuesday, on the 5th, you should submit your writing response 2. It's due at 4 p.m. I mentioned it in the last video, and it's also on the syllabus here. So basically, I'm just asking that you read the deconstructing ad and sample rhetorical analysis essay, and then just write up what you think is a rhetorical analysis. What are some of the goals and purposes of doing a rhetorical analysis? Again, these are one-page double-spaced, somewhat informal, should be more formal than your free writes, but perhaps not as formal as your papers. Okay, so the readings are in coursework, papers, and then Saturday at noon, the rhetorical analysis unit opened because you were officially done with your narrative paper. So the reading is here, deconstructing ad. It's just 2 pages, and then there are 2 sample papers up already. Just choose one to read. This is from last year, so the prompt is going to be a little bit different. They focused on political cartoons, and I'm having you guys focus on movie posters. I think movie posters are a little bit more fun, and I'm giving you more options basically for the summer class to make your job easier, essentially. Okay, so a couple of administrative notes before we start talking about the assignment sheet. I am not going to email you every single day reminding you about the YouTube videos or the free writes. Again, that's your job to Monday through Friday wake up and check online. You should go to YouTube and see if there are 2 new videos. Again, I always have the date and video 1 and video 2. And then the free write, I always have the date with the free write. So if the day is, for example, like July 5th, that means it's due on July 5th, okay? The second note, Module 1, which is the narrative paper, will close on Wednesday, July 6th, okay? So this whole unit, the submission portals, the free writes, the narrative, this will all close. These materials in this folder will stay open, but your ability to submit new free writes from Unit 1 and your writing response from Unit 1, that will be no longer available. So go ahead and submit those before the unit closes. The basis is you do the work now so that at the end of the semester you're not completing like 50 assignments at once. Okay, so if we go into rhetorical analysis unit, and you already have your 2 readings here like I mentioned. Here's the assignment sheet, which I'm going to pull up in a second. Here's the rubric. I've included a PowerPoint to help you with the visual elements. Your movie poster choices we'll talk about in a second, and here are your readings for next week. Okay, so everything's already up here. I will add material as it becomes relevant, but you have it for the most part already. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to the assignment sheet, and I'm going to run through this real quick. You are supposed to read this on your own. So a rhetorical analysis, we've already mentioned rhetoric, ethos, pathos, and logos, and we have a document on that in case you have forgotten, but I'll remind you. So rhetorical analysis is basically you're doing a close reading of a movie poster. It could be a text, it could be a movie, it could be a political cartoon, anything really, but for this class, we're going to look at movie posters, specifically the dystopian genre or like post-apocalyptic stuff, because honestly, that's what I'm most interested in. So, the purpose. The purpose is to analyze, all right? That's the purpose of the whole unit here, writing to analyze. This means that instead of just saying something exists, or instead of saying something is good or bad, we want to look at why it may be effective or ineffective. So I'm basically asking you, what makes a good movie poster, okay? And we'll look at some specific elements below to help you out with that. The genre of the rhetorical analysis will be more formal than your narrative paper. You can still use things like first person. However, they should be used sparingly because you're not talking about your personal history anymore. You're talking about the movie poster. The audience, again, it's technically me, but think about if you're writing maybe a review of the movie poster for a magazine or for a journal, what would you say? Who would be reading it? They probably are familiar with the movie, assume that they've already watched it. Organization. We're going to spend a little bit more time on this, but just to give you a heads up, there are two main ways that students organize these papers. They find it helpful to organize them by rhetorical element, and I have the 9 rhetorical elements listed below. Those might be a full paragraph. Ethos might be a whole paragraph in your paper. Or the other way to organize a rhetorical analysis is talking about the foreground, middle ground, and background. Okay, so this is the front of the image, the middle of the image, and the back of the image. And actually tomorrow's video, I'm going to break apart a World War Z poster, and I'm going to provide basically a sample analysis of what I'm expecting in your papers. Okay, so again, you're not saying something's good or bad, and you're not even critiquing the movie. It may be a terrible movie, but the movie poster might rock. So you are just looking at these rhetorical appeals like ethos, pathos, logos to persuade an audience of a purpose. That's their goal. They're using all of these things, the 9 rhetorical elements, to persuade an audience of a purpose. The main purpose will be to see the movie, to make money. But with movie posters, there are often underlying purposes or messages that the movie wants to get across. Okay? So in World War Z, we might think about capitalism or population control or virus narratives. Those are all things that are in addition to the purpose of selling World War Z movie tickets. Okay, so I provided 7 movie poster options on eCampus, and I'm going to show those to you in a second. Let's say you hate all 7 of them, or let's say you've never seen any of them. I recommend you watch one and then choose that one, or if you are really passionate about choosing a different movie poster, then I've given you 4 steps here to complete in order to receive my okay before you start writing. So again, I must say, yes, you can write about this alternative movie poster in order for you to start writing about it. So the first step would be to pick a movie poster. The citation for it, I have a link here. You can also use Easy Writer. It's just this here, how to cite an image off of a web page. So you need to provide that citation. The second step is all of these questions. It's asking mostly about ethos, okay? We want to make sure it is actually a movie poster and not like a knockoff or just a screen grab of a movie poster. What is in the movie poster? Just briefly describe it, okay? And then why do you select it? What interests you about it? What do you have, what personal stakes do you have in this topic? So what I'll do is, if any of you are interested in choosing an alternative movie poster, you must email me by, we'll say Thursday, okay? Thursday of this week. So at the very, very latest, you need to email me with this all filled out by Thursday. This should be a 1-page double-spaced, okay? Please let me know if you have questions. The assessment, we're going to look at the rubric in just a second. It's the same amount of words as the last paper because you have to have 20 formal pages of writing by the end of this class. That's an English department rule, not my rule. The formatting is all the same in terms of title, in terms of document format. And here is the really important stuff for this paper. These are the 9 rhetorical elements. I've put a little bit of a reminder next to each one. These 3 we talked about in the first unit: ethos, pathos, and logos, the author's credibility, emotional appeal, structure, rationale for order or placement. Email me if you have questions about this, or take another look at that rhetoric document we already talked about. PAC, this should be familiar to you. It was purpose, audience, conventions, and troubleshooting, but we're only going to use the first 3. So purpose, this will help you reach your word count. Why it was created, why the creator created the visual text. So for instance, like the Hunger Games is an option, and Suzanne Collins, who wrote the books, she wanted to comment on class issues, so the 99% versus the 1%. That's very clear in the districts in the capital, and you would do some extra research to talk about purpose, okay? Target audience. Who was the visual text originally created for? So there are some things from the 60s and the 80s, and those are obviously not created for modern audiences, so think about that. Conventions. We'll talk more about this in another video, but what other visual texts in that genre, what do they have in common? So something like The Giver, Divergent, Hunger Games, those all feature like a strong teen figure in the center of the poster, and I will post some more specific things about conventions because it's kind of hard to understand. Text. This one's pretty easy. What's the text in the visual ad? Where is it placed? How does it compare to the images? Contextual. The history or the context in which the visual text was created. So you need to know the year that it was created, or what was going on in terms of American politics, gender, class, nation, issues of sexual orientation, religion, mental or physical abilities, health, etc. Alright? Visual. The specific visual parts of the visual text. I've provided more information in a PowerPoint on all 4 of these. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at that PowerPoint, and then we'll move on to our rubric. Alright, so this has a lot of information, and I'm not going to read through it all. What I want to highlight are these 4 things. Alignment. Alignment is basically literally lines, so it's kind of in the word itself. Does it use diagonal lines like this PowerPoint slide? Does it use horizontal lines? Or vertical lines, and these can be invisible as well. Alright, they don't have to be actual lines on the page, just where your eye is directed to. Proximity. This deals with grouping. So things are grouped together in terms of what white space exists between them, or black space, or etc. How are things grouped together? It can be text. Is all the text grouped together, or are all the images grouped together? Are they interspersed? Contrast. This means contrast in size, color, or typeface. Mostly color, so black and white might be a good contrast. Size. Are things closer in the front, or are they bigger in the back? So, and typeface. Do they use different kinds of typeface, different sizes, and also different colors or placement? Alright, and repetition is probably the easiest to understand. Do things repeat? If so, what is the meaning of the pattern of repetition? These here just helps to give you a little bit more vocabulary with visual text. Okay. So again, I went over this very, very quickly, I understand, but I will be talking and showing you how to do this in an actual ad. So this is a brief introduction. If you're swimming right now and you're barely keeping your head above water, that's okay. We're going to spend a lot more time with this. Also for this paper, you have a week and a half. Okay, so it's a little bit longer than the narrative. Okay, so here are your 6 choices. I have them already uploaded. This is Night of the Living Dead, obviously. So Mad Max, Clockwork Orange, V for Vendetta, Moon, The Hunger Games, and The Purge election year. Okay, so you will choose one of these to start analyzing. I recommend that you choose one today. And again, if you want an alternative option, fill out those 4 steps on the assignment sheet and send it to me by Thursday, and then I will approve or not approve of it. So I recommend you choose one of these. And part of your homework might be watching a movie. That would be kind of cool, right? So choose one of those. I'll probably ask soon in your free write which one you chose, why, etc. The last thing for this video is the rubric. All of this is the same for this video, focus revision, discussion, professional. The things that change are in the actual rubric part. So the title is the same rules for titling as in the other video. Introduction, thesis statement. This is similar to a scene introduction, but not quite as much scene language. You will be doing some research for this paper in order to understand the context of each, or of the movie poster that you choose. The analysis is specific vocab that you're analyzing the ad and not just saying what exists in the ad. The conclusion, the same rules apply for the conclusion, predictions, consequences, solutions. Arrangement is just the structure. Voice is your tone in the essay. This stuff, grammar and such, works cited, and a link. Okay, and I'll provide more feedback here to help guide you. So I know this was really fast. I'm going to slow it down a little bit for the next video, but yeah, keep watching, and welcome to Rhetorical Analysis Unit.